Hey there! Good morning everybody, we're just checking that our stream is up and running after the crashing storm that's just blown through, and we'll be starting our show very, very shortly. Look at these happy impala.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning. The storm has swept through, leaving the animals rather damp but also looking very happy. This is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning and welcome on this morning's somewhat delayed sunrise safari, for which we do apologize, but none of us felt like getting struck by lightning this morning. My name is Jamie, and this morning Brian is on camera with me. Good morning, Brian.
Hello.
And we are safe and sound and dry. The storm has blown over as quickly as it rocked up, and we're heading out live from the middle of Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. So right up in the top northeastern corner. We've had plenty of rain, which is always very exciting. It's got the impalas all worked up. They've been bouncing around us. And you can send through your questions using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Let's go and see what the rain has produced for us. Now, Tristan will be out a little bit later. In fact, I think Tristan could probably be out now. Jigger, unfortunately, unlike Rusty, does not have a roof. So you might notice our roof coming in every now and again. There it is, looking a bit soggy there, Brian.
Yeah.
A bit droopy in the front. It's because all of the rain's collected in it. Hello, Impala. And Tayla will probably be in the tent unless this really stays clear, in which case she will be on walk. Hello, damp-looking Impala. Brent, of course, safely tucked away in bed, listening to the sounds of the storm and the rain. What do you think of that, mister? A little bit soggy, but otherwise unharmed, and I'm sure quite relieved to have come through the storm. I don't quite know what time it started last night, but it was really nice to hear a proper summer thunderstorm, wasn't it, Brian?
Yeah.
It was very atmospheric, listening to the sound of the rain on the roof and the lightning. It was very pleasant and atmospheric until I realized that my phone was charging on the windowsill with the window open. Fortunately, not too much damage done. Let's just have a look over across towards Nkoro. I'm just going to go forward ever so slightly to boost our roof out of the way. Now, we've just got a report from Nkoro that they had 120 mils overnight. Their driveway is flooded. How well can we see, Brian? Not spectacularly, can we? No. Oh, roof. That's the direction of the Kruger and towards Nkoro and Cheetah Plains. I'm sure they enjoyed the deluge. Steph's great deluge. It arrived. I think we probably had about 30 mils. The road around Quarantine has been washed away, not completely, but it certainly has started to disappear. But it's beautiful this morning. Everything smells clean and fresh. I've forgotten what the temperature is. It's somewhere in the mid-70s. So it's nice and warm, and everything just smells clean. Brian thinks he can... There we go, 23 degrees centigrade, 74 Fahrenheit. Brian thinks that he can smell wild dogs.
Not anymore.
Not anymore? That's tragic, Brian. Perhaps we shall go and look around and see if there's any wild dogs around. And we're going to go and visit the Hyena Den, because I want to see the cubs popping their heads out after the rain. And we're going to see frogs and termites and all sorts of other exciting things. Look at the puddles, Brian. So lovely. There we go. So that's generally on my way from Ingers to DRC. That puddle is how I gauge how much rain we've had. If it's just been a light drizzle, there's no puddle at all. When we've had 10 plus, then the water gathers there. Can still hear the rumbles of thunder to the north of me, but it all came through from the south. Good morning, Uncle Al in Pennsylvania. Uncle Al, you want to know what is the most difficult animal to track and what is the most difficult to film? I'm going to leave Brian to answer the second one in a moment. For me, the most difficult animals to track are the cats, from leopard smaller. So leopards walk with an incredibly light step. Trying to track something like a caracal or a serval is incredibly tricky. Anything like that. And generally a lot of the other animals walk with quite a heavy tread, but to be honest, Uncle Al, on a morning like this morning we can kiss tracking goodbye. Unless an entire pride of lions ran very conveniently along a road, we're probably not going to see any tracks. They've all been washed away completely. On the other side of the coin, probably the easiest would be an elephant or a rhino, provided that you can catch up with them, because they do move quite fast. And Brian, what would be your answer to the most difficult animal to film?
Probably butterflies.
Butterflies!
Yeah.
Don't worry, Brian, we won't be doing a butterfly drive today. So butterflies, very tricky. Brian were you with Brent on foot the other day? You were?
Yeah.
Filming butterflies in the Mawati.
Yeah.
That must have been a test of your cameraman skills. Fortunately for us, I'm pretty sure we have some of the best cameramen in the world, because it's live, so there's no second chances, and it's wildlife, so there's a level of unpredictability. What else would be difficult to film? Yeah, Brian's got everything else down. I don't think there's a thing out here that Brian can't film. We do often have a, oh look, there's a bird moment, and then it's gone. Or the animal does something unexpected and disappears. Oh, it's really lovely out here. We watched that storm build from last night, and I actually got to the point where I thought it wasn't going to hit. There was lightning all around us, but it felt as though we were just going to get missed completely. So I'm really glad that we didn't, because it's always quite sad when you watch the rain pouring to the west and to the east of you and you're not getting anything. Oh, it's very soggy, Brian. Can feel the vehicle slipping, and this isn't even a muddy road. What do you want to see today, Brian?
Pangolin!
Pangolin! We've got to get you a pangolin, Bebop. At some point. If we keep saying it often enough, it'll happen. Sure. Look at Philemon's dip. It's flowing. Philemon's dip is flowing, everybody. Look at this. I'm going to duck my head down. Look here. We have a river. And that's not even one of the big ones. Maybe we should go and look at the Mawati. Maybe the Mawati will have been flowing for the first time. How exciting would that be? So Philemon's dip. How marvellous. Gosh, we must have had more rain than I thought. If Philemon's dip is flowing, it must have been more than 30 mils. Well, hopefully all of our animals, particularly our baby animals, are tucked away and safe. I'm going to shift down into low range because I don't feel like getting bogged down. This is the first... Brian, you've been here longer than I am. Have. There. Oh. Drippy. Have you ever seen Philemon's dip flow?
No.
No. Look at this. It's not just flowing, it's a raging torrent. At least for us it is. Huh. Wow. How cool is that? That's mad. Okay, we have to go to the Mawati. We'll come back to we'll come back to the Hyena Den in a moment. But we have to go to the Mawati now. Oh. Cool. Water everywhere. Okay. I bet you the Mawinini is also flowing. Look at this. I wonder how much we actually had. We need Tristan's rain gauge outside the tent to find out. We'll have to ask Tayla very nicely if she minds having a look. Tayla could actually probably go on a walk as well. There's no longer any threat of rain. This is proper summer weather. Storm, pouring with rain, and then gone. This is what we've been missing. Even Djuma, I don't think, gave us this much rain. Philemon's, look, okay, to be fair, the ground's had time to saturate thanks to Djuma and her various low pressure systems that came through afterwards. The roads have all washed away. Shame. The maintenance guys are going to have a heavy time trying to compensate for this. I think let's go, what do you think, Brian? Let's go look at the Mulwati before it stops flowing, if it is flowing. And then we'll come back to the Hyena Den. Because I've been waiting for a long time to see the raging torrent of the Mulwati River. And the nice thing about after this weather, of course, is that our big cats will have been hunting, and there's always the chance we might come upon them round the next corner. Alright, let's head over to Tayla in the tent to find out if she has any plans for this morning.
Well, it's been a difficult start, hasn't it, today? A bit of thunder keeping us from preventing us from doing anything. We couldn't even come and set up the tent. The lightning was right ahead. But my name is Tayla, and on camera with me today is Craig. And hopefully we're going to find a couple of cool little critters that would have come out with the rain. So I'm going to at some point go scouring outside to see if I can find anything wonderful. But just in case you were all wondering, we had about almost 2 inches of rain, just shy of 2 inches, which is about 50 mils of rain, which I think is the biggest downpour we've had. Not even when we had the deluge pop over, well, the thought to be deluge, we didn't quite even have that much rain. So very, very exciting. It's hot and humid at the moment. Apparently in Coral, I don't know if Jamie mentioned it, had over 120 mils of rain. Now that's not very far from us. That is only about a 25-minute drive from here. You know, it's borders on Cheetah Plain, so it's not very far at all. And just shows you, look at that, we've had, well, not quite a third, but almost well less than what they've had, which is quite surprising. I thought this morning when we got that other little downpour that came down, I thought that was the second wind, and we were going to get those 70 mils that Nkoro had that we didn't. But alas, it doesn't look like it. It seems as though the clouds have lifted. It's looking really, really nice outside. Just that it's, well, very, very humid. Should we go and have a look and see what it looks like from outside the tent? Now, I haven't put any paper up just yet this morning. Oh, look, there's a very wet bird. It looks like a Natal spurfowl. Hello. Very drenched. Normally we see them, well, with a little bit of wetness on their feathers, but today I don't think there was any, or last night I don't think there was any avoiding that torrential downpour. That bird is absolutely drenched at the moment, but doesn't seem too bothered. It's come out of its hidey hole, probably from underneath one of these little shrubs, and is now starting to feed. I think it's looking for little insects, maybe a couple of bird seeds. Not bird seeds, there's no bird seeds that grow out here. Of course the bird seeds come in the form of the seeds from the grass and from the various trees. But I think that is really, really funny to see that little damp bird over there who is very relaxed. I can't believe it hasn't flown away. Normally they're the first ones to fly away when you spot them, but a bit miserable still. Feathers all fluffed up, and I'm sure it's hoping for a little bit of a breeze or perhaps a bit of sun, which it may pop out, because if you look a bit higher, you can actually see the blue sky is starting to show itself now. And it won't be too long before all these very, very damp animals dry themselves. Oh, sorry, Chris, can you go again with your message again? I had comms issues there, I didn't hear you. Now, Phil, you're wondering if we can check the bottle outside the tent. It's not here. I do not see a bottle. Anyway, I know it was over here by the scarecrow, but it is not here anymore. So I don't know if somebody's maybe pushed it inside or picked it up. Hang on, maybe what's down here? Let me check in here. Yes, okay, I think I found where the bottle is, but it does not look like, well, where it was supposed to be, so we'll have to pick that up. But let's go across to Tristan, who has got a different kind of bird, as well as some little chicks.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our sunrise drive. Yes, indeed, Tayla, we do. We have some very soggy guinea fowl that are sitting on the road, busy trying to dry themselves. You can see they're all fluffed up and lots of wing flapping, and that's all just to try and get those feathers dry again. These little chicks would have got very, very wet this morning. It was quite a storm that came down. I know that we've had over 50 millimeters of rain here, and down further east towards Cheetah Plains, they've had over 120, so they've had a real lot of rain. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I have Lamech, and we are going to go and see if we can go follow up on the Hyena Den. So that's going to be our plan for this morning. We got a bit distracted with these guinea fowl that are quite cute in the road, and like I say, they're just trying to dry out. So we're going to slowly make our way towards the Hyena Den and see what we can find. I'm hoping that this rain is going to go away, because Jigger doesn't have the roof on this morning. I know it sounds crazy, but Jigger is missing a canvas for its roof, so we would have had to change Wendy's one. So we're going to try and see if we can get through the drive without being rained upon too much. At the moment, it's not raining any significant amount. We're just waving to Tayla quickly, just saying hello. We're just going past the tent, so quick hello to Tayla. I'm sure Taylor's quite happy to be in the tent this morning. It's a lot drier than it is out here, that's for sure. The nice thing though, sorry little guys, shame, there seems to be one chick that is infinitely smaller than the others. Now I wonder if it's from a different clutch of eggs, but you can see in the left hand side there's a tiny little one running around amongst the bigger ones. So that must be a different clutch of eggs completely, because it is a lot smaller than the others. But aren't they cute? Shame, they trying to keep up with the adults, but their legs are so much shorter that the adults tend to run a lot faster, and you find the adults then have to slow down and the little ones then catch up. But they are very, very cute, and they are going to be very happy birds, because what the rain means for them is a lot of food. There's going to be a lot of grass seeds after this that they can feed on, so there will be some very happy guinea fowl indeed. Now don't go that way. They are very cute. So Kirst is saying that a lot of you are enjoying the little ones. They are very, very cute. Come on, stay close to mom. Well, that's good. They've gone the opposite direction to us, which is perfect. That means I don't have to feel guilty about chasing them with a hunking great green Jigger, so they can have a little bit more time to dry off and rest. Winter prism, you want to know if guinea fowl are related to quails. Well, they are the same family, so you'll find quails, partridges, guinea fowl, francolins. These are all part of that same grouping of birds. They're all fowls and are all game birds, if you want to call it that. So yes, they are indeed. Now we've just got a few impalas. There's one beautiful male here that's sitting up on the termite mound, looking quite regal up there. They're going up there now for a little bit of elevation to be able to see what's going on around them. Now, with the bit of rain that we've had in the dark, stormy conditions, we've been absolutely perfect for predators to be out and about and being hunting and chasing these impalas, so they would have had a very tough night, and that's why you'll find they're in this open clearing still. If it had been a very bright start to the day, most of them would have been already off this clearing because it would have been getting too warm for them. So they're still here because of the dark and rainy conditions we've had, and now that they're up there, they're going to be scanning around for any signs of predator, getting up onto those termite mounds. It's amazing how that little mound has got so much elevation, and you're able to see a lot more from up there. So Sue Ellen, you were wondering about the predators hunting in the rain. So there we go. They do hunt quite effectively in the rain. They utilize the the sound that is created by the thunder, also the lightning flashes, they kind of blind the animals for a little bit and the animals get a bit stunned, and then there's a wind that blows and it just becomes very difficult for prey animals to actually sense what's going on around them. The wind is swirling, so if there is any scent of a predator, it's coming from all directions, and so it really is quite tough. The other side of it is that there's no moonlight in a storm like this, so it becomes very, very dark, and it becomes a lot harder for these prey animals to be able to see any signs of the predator. So I'm sure Karula and the Ko and all the other leopards that we've had out here will all have been very busy during that storm, and if they've got food, then they would have been just trying to shelter and get themselves into a place where not too much rain was affecting them. Right, so we're going to carry on towards the Hyena Den and hopefully we will get some activity, and while we do that, let's go to Jamie and see if the Mulawati is flowing.
The Mulawati is flowing like a torrent. This is incredible. Brian, how exciting is this?
This is amazing.
You know what I think this warrants, Brian? A reintroduction of the thumb.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I was very rude to the thumb this morning and I forgot about introducing the thumb. So there we go. Is the thumb happy about the rain, Bebop?
Exceptionally happy.
Exceptionally happy. I'm going to go and wade in it. I want to go and see just how full it really is. Let me not get my mic pack wet. So this is Spaghetti Junction. The junction, oh goodness, oh it's very muddy. So up there is Vulture's Nest, Nyala Road. That was Battalier Road. There's no way we can get onto that now. And there are certain roads that we're not going to be able to drive. Okay, Boris or Vlad, please don't eat me. Look at this. How cool is this? It's properly flowing. This whole riverbed is flowing. Oh, I've been waiting for this moment. We must have had 100 moles. We must have had much more than I ever realized. Starting to get nervous about Vlad and Boris and... Oh, goodness, that's deep. Well, I think picnic by the riverbed this afternoon, Brian. I think that sounds like a nice plan. Muddy, 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 muddy. Okay, well, my shoes are going to have to stay off for a time being. Well, that's a first for me. And of course it won't last, but it is nice while it does. What it does mean for us is definitely no off-roading. Sorry, I'm cold now. No off-roading, and probably no driving further on Twin Dams. And we could get across, but what we would be greeted by on the other side, I feel, would be lots and lots of mud. Hey, Kirsty? Picnic by the river? I think so. Don't worry, I wasn't too nervous about a crocodile. It's not deep enough for me not to spot one big enough to actually take me down. That would have been a bit disastrous if I'd been chomped. It would have been terrible. It kind of would have put a dampener on my day. Yeah, that and the lightning. Okay, now what, Brian? I've led us down a rabbit hole. Dam check. That's what we're going to do. Oren, you want to know if there are alligators in Africa? No. No alligators here. Nile crocodiles. Very, very large Nile crocodiles. We've got two that are quite significantly large. One is Vlad and the other is Boris. That's the only two that I was slightly nervous of. Obviously they get much... What is that? Impala. Look at this. Oh, but it's pretty. And obviously if we go further towards the Sand River, oh, that must be flowing, the Sabi River, you'll get the really sort of monstrous specimens of Nile crocodiles, 12 feet long, absolute giant dinosaurs. Okay. I just had a feeling when I saw Philemon's dip flowing, I knew that the Mulawati would have to be as well. Well, there we go. A first for all of us. Let's go and see how full our dams are, I think. I've just spoken to Andrew from Cheetah Plains. He says they're underwater and please only drive the main roads. We're going to have to do the same here on Djuma because I've just driven down Twin Dams and we're going to have to try and get back up now. And if we regularly use the sort of this slightly less main roads, the soggier ones, we're actually going to do some serious damage to them. And then Rexon's going to come and find me and be very cross, because he will have to deal with the consequences, or else I will have to deal with the consequences and come and dig up and cover up the ruts I've made. This is going to be a slippery uphill, Brian. We're going to have to do this, I think, with some degree of speed, so that we don't slide down the hill sideways. Ah! Stop dripping on me! Silly roof. Okay, dam check, I think. We'll go to Twin Dams, we'll go Buffelshoek, we'll go Treehouse. I don't want to go too far from home. Are we going to make it through here? Yes. It would be terribly embarrassing if I got stuck. Our Daisy's mum, you want to know where that river will flow to. I think, as far as I know, it joins up with the Manuleti. I think the Mulwanini and the Mulwati, because the Manuleti does a bit of a curve. But the person who might actually be best placed to answer that is Tristan, just because he has worked further south of where we are. So this river obviously flows to the south into Little Gowrie, and from there, I think it empties into the Manuleti River. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think the Mulwanini does as well, which is the one just a little bit to the east of us. It's one of Tundi's favorite spots. My feet are very cold, Brian. It was worth it just for that moment. We've got absolutely no idea where the animals to look for them or track them. Lots of impala around. Hello, boys. Oh, bye-bye, boys. I was going to stop here just because I'm a bit worried about our signal as we go through this dip. Let's see if we can just push it around this corner, just to show you the Mulwati flowing from a different perspective, and to show you which road I cannot drive on. Are you happy, go away birds? Is this nice? Oh goodness. Okay, well I can't show you the Mulwati, but I can show you the road. And there you go. We won't be driving down that road, Brian. We will do some damage. Alright, as we sort of drive round and round the same roads this morning, trying to avoid the wet spots, let's go and find out what Tristan's plans are.
So we're just coming up towards the Hyena Den now, and we're going to check what's going on and see if there's any activity there. But in answer to Jamie's question about the Mulawati and where it ends up, so just having a look at these two impalas, they look quite nervous. They're both very twitchy and staring around. Now, I wonder if maybe they haven't seen something. Also, it will be, for some of these impalas, the first time that they've seen some of these little riverbeds and drainage lines actually flowing, so the noise of the water might be a bit disconcerting to them. That's maybe why they're a little bit nervous. Also, with the rain pitter-pattering around, it's creating a little bit of noise that they'll be a bit unsure about. But like I was saying, sorry, about the Mulawati actually ends up flowing into the Sand River. So it doesn't go to the Sand River before the Mulawati gets to it. So the Manuleti will come down, if this is the western side of the Sabi Sands, it comes through Simbambili, Elephant Plains, and then it goes into the northern side of Londolozi and into the Sand River, and then the Mulawati comes further east and just goes straight down through Chitwa, and then, well, just on the border of Chitwa, and then down into Mala Mala and into the Sand River from there. So they all end up, I suppose, in the same place, but they do not connect the Manuleti and the Mulawati. But it's a good sign if the Mulawati is flowing. Then I would imagine the Mulwanini, which is the one that is a little bit further east, should be flowing too. And I remember in 2012 when we had the floods, the Mulawanini and Mulawati were mighty rivers at that stage. We had guests that were at Chitwa at the time, and they had to get out to get back home, and they couldn't get through the Mulawanini, and we tried to see how deep it actually was, and we waded in and it was about chest deep and rising, so we decided better not to risk it. There was also catfish swimming up to spawn in the Mulawanini, which was quite amazing to watch, and where there are catfish spawning, generally there are crocodiles, so we thought better of it and got out of there quite quickly. I didn't really want to be chest deep in a torrent of water with catfish all around me. Now it looks like our den is inactive, so it looks like there's no sign of hyenas here this morning. Might be with the rain that they're all tucked up inside and staying nice and dry like Tayla in her tent. So let's just have a little look from here. What is that? Don't see anything. Namek, maybe you see any? Let's go in a little bit closer and see what we can see inside the hole. But at the moment, I just thought I saw something just to the left-hand side of the hole there. Thought maybe it was a little face that was peering out, but it just looks like a bit of the termite mound structure. Now, generally when I've come here, it's been bright sunshine, so it's actually been difficult to see in the hole. The hole's normally like a black abyss, but it just looks like the side wall of that termite mound. So alas, no hyenas for us, unfortunately. I was hoping that they'd be out, but again, with the rain, the little ones probably get a little bit cold and a little bit wet, and they would rather then spend time inside than outside. So, alas, we shall carry on, but what I think we'll do is if the rain stops, which I was hopeful it was going to, but now I see it starting again, if the rain stops, then I might come back past here, because after the rain, they might come out to start thinking about drying out. So, Angie, you're wondering whether animals come out into the open after a good storm. Well, not so much out into the open, but they will come out to be able to start drying themselves. So they'll head into more open sections where there's at least a bit of sunshine and try and get themselves nice and dry. Alright, Lamek, just watch your head here. We're just going to squeeze underneath. We're going to get a little bit dripped on. Alright, so we're going to try and get through underneath this archway. We're going to get dripped on quite a bit, so let's rather go to Tayla, where it's going to be a little bit drier than what we're going to experience.
Tristan, I have to tell you that I think I might be a bit wetter than you because I've been roaming around in the long grass. You can have a look. Look how wet my shoes are. And you can't really see it, but my pants are pretty wet too, but just from the waist down, and a couple of little specks of rain. It's not raining too hard at the moment, it's just a bit of a drizzle. But I found Tristan's rain gauge. Here it is. Ta-da! Isn't this wonderful? But I think it had blown over because I found it laying upside down on the grass. But what it did do is it caught a grasshopper for me, which was quite wonderful. So I've now collected the grasshopper and I've put it under the microscope. Should we take a look at the grasshopper under the microscope? I think so. Oh no, that's not a grasshopper. There it is. My goodness, we went from Egyptian goose to Tristan to grasshopper. He metamorphosizes really, really well. So we're looking at it at the moment, and as you can see, and I'm just trying to focus it a little bit more. This one is not live. I think it may have drowned slightly. Well, when I say slightly, I mean a lot as well. But the grasshoppers are incredible creatures, and it's one of the most prolific insects that we see, not just here on Djuma, but all over the world. And as most of you know, is when the short-horned grasshoppers, they swarm, they form, well, we call them locusts, and they will devastate crops. They can be a massive, massive pest, causing millions and millions of dollars in damage every year, and the same thing goes in South Africa. They can be a big problem too, but luckily for us at the moment, in this particular area, they haven't ever seemed to cause too much havoc. There's enough food around for them. The only thing we've really seen swarming are the elegant locusts, but they're starting to thin out and move on and getting much bigger too. We went from seeing lots and lots of little ones. They've now grown up. nice and big, and therefore I don't think too many birds are eating them though, because of all that bright coloration that they have, that aposematic coloration, so they will be toxic in some form. But most grasshoppers actually will have a chemical defense in some way. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. I've only seen it a couple of times, but for instance, the copy foam grasshopper forms a foamy substance, which is quite impressive. And it's really, really bitter in taste. And sometimes these smaller grasshoppers do a similar thing, and they call it tobacco juice. And I wonder if it's because it's brownish in color and a strange liquid, and then because apparently it tastes very, very bitter, very much like the copy foam grasshopper. But you really have to upset them in order for them to, well, release those things. But they're amazing little things. I'm going to see if I can push its, so we can have a look at its legs. This one is also missing a leg though. I'm just going to move it slightly. Let's see its very powerful back legs. There it is. There's one. I'm getting better at the microscope. I've been practicing. Actually, it looks like it's a little bit alive. Can you see? It looks like it's breathing, which is sad. Can we do CPR? Has anybody ever done CPR on a grasshopper before? Like I said, I found this in the water, and that's the only problem is when you do put something like a rain gauge out, and it's not anybody's fault, but it's the same thing as a swimming pool. The same thing happens in small puddles or even in the ocean, is that insects can get trapped in them when they're looking for water, and then they can drown. And I think that's the case here, though this one is moving a little bit, which is a bit weird. But they've got these big, powerful legs with all these little sharp spines on them, and they are able to jump 20 times their own body length. Can you imagine that? So they say that if we as humans had powerful legs like a grasshopper and we had wings to help us, because remember, when a grasshopper leaps, it also opens up its wings and then it flaps them and catches the wind, so they do go a little bit further than what they would if they were just jumping. Sorry, I think Kirst no. And oh, sorry, no, it wasn't Kirst. I was hearing something else. I'm hearing voices somewhere. And they're really, really just amazing creatures, the way that they can jump. But what I wanted to tell you was that if we as humans had the same powerful hindquarters as these grasshoppers do, we'd be able to leap about 40 yards. Can you imagine running around? I wouldn't even run. I'd actually think I'd just hop everywhere and go about 40 yards. So that's probably about 36 meters or so. But really lovely, and I'm pity that I can't give that grasshopper CPR. I would have loved to. Dominique, now you're wondering if we've noticed or if we ever notice a decrease in biting insects after the rain. I actually think it's the opposite. It is so humid now. Last night was lovely because we had that hot, humid afternoon yesterday. Then we had the cool breeze come through. We had the clouds moving around, which was fantastic. But then what had happened was, well, we had the rain, and now it's just hot again, so it didn't really do anything. It just shows you that summer's not over just yet, because when winter kicks in, eventually there will be no more humidity after the rain. So I think this afternoon we're going to be in a bit of trouble. I think we're going to have a lot of things biting us. Hopefully it's just put I'm actually starting to see the insects all waking up now and starting to move around. The grasshoppers are always out. And hopefully what we're going to do is our friend the Natal spurfowl is actually still hanging around. May have just heard him there, so we'll probably go look for him a little bit later. Maybe it's the new Simon, a live character for the tent. But let's go back across to Jamie. She's having so much fun, and I know she's checking all the dams. I'm not sure which one she's at now.
I'm at Twin Dams, just enjoying the view of the Mulwati River. Now it actually can be called a river. You can hear it. What's the word? Bubbling.
No.
It's a babbling brook. Never thought I'd use that term to describe it. And the frogs. The painted reed frogs could not be happier. And the tree frogs as well. Making such a fuss. I found Boris, by the way. No need for concern. Boris was not waiting to ambush me in the Mulwati. He is, in fact, still at Twin Dams, and I'll show you now what Twin Dams is looking like. We also found the saddest looking birds in the world. The duckorps, or thickneys, are so depressed looking. I don't know if it's because they've got these massive eyes, but they just look so sad. So here's the beginning of twin dams. I don't want to get stuck here. So there you go, the thick knees. How's that, Brian? A bit further forward? Cool. Sure. Just deafening. Look at that. Now you can see it's still drizzling, despite the blue sky patches showing. And there's our dickorps, or our thick knees, who've been chirping away. They still look sad, Brian. Not as sad as they did earlier, though. Especially that one, the one on the right. It just looks like it wants to burst into tears. That is just their faces, though. Because they are nocturnal birds, so they've got large eyes. You can see the dragonflies have arrived already. Oh! See? See how good Brian is? Bullfrogs. And a thick knee thrown in for good measure. And welcome to Sally. I hope you're enjoying this rainfall's drive as much as I am. Sally, you want to know if this water stays, will it bring different animals? Not particularly, nothing unexpected. It will certainly bring out some new and interesting insects that perhaps we haven't seen. Hello, Boris. It is Boris that lives here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it's Vlad who lives in Chitwa. I think so, yeah. Hello, Boris. Look at you looking all sinister over there. I bet you're happy. So we might get different insects, but otherwise the animals are essentially going to stay the same. Obviously the territories will stay. There's the only animals that we were likely to see that would be unusual would actually have been during the drought, like the arrival of that sable bull on the Djuma Dam camera last year in search of water. So those are the sort of, that's more likely to bring in unexpected animals. But we'll get nice insects. We might even get some nice birds as well. These frogs are deafening. I don't know how else to describe it to you. They are so loud. Yo. I wonder what decibels they're hitting. All together like this.
Oh, it's not ambient quite a bit.
Can you hear it there, Brian?
Yeah.
Everything is a little bit damp and soggy this morning. Let's go and see whether the bird with Tristan has managed to ruffle its feathers.
So we have probably the most bleak looking European roller that there has been in the summer. This poor roller looks absolutely drenched. So it's sitting on top of a tree and its feathers are all wet and soaked, and it does not look happy with life at all. So I'm hoping for this poor roller's sake that the sun comes out quite soon and it can then fluff itself up and get nice and dry, because it's not going to fly anywhere looking like that. And I feel very, very sorry for it. Shame, it does not look good at all. Poor roller. And they normally are bright and vibrant and very pretty birds, but this morning, that is a picture of sadness right there. And not to worry though, as soon as the sun comes out, that will go back to normal, and like I say, it will puff itself up, get lots and lots of sunshine on it, and then it will dry out and be absolutely fine a little bit later. But shame. So some of the animals, well, particularly the birds, they would have had a tough night in this rain, or tough morning, should I say, and they would have got absolutely soaked by that driving hard rain that's causing all these dams to fill and rivers to flow. And so it is nice for us to see, but for the birds, not so much. Now, I'm quite glad when Jamie was wading around that Boris the Blade was in twin dams and not in the Mulawati. That would have been a nasty surprise for Jamie. So, Fat Man Sparkles, you want to know if this rain will attract different water birds. Fuzzman, Buzzman Sparkle. Sorry, Ghost. Yes, it could potentially, if you get these big storms, sometimes what happens is you'll get certain individuals being blown in. So maybe like that corn crake that Brent had the other day. Also what we'll find is we're going to get areas that are going to be better habitats for certain water birds. So you'll find we're going to start getting marshy areas. Some of these smaller little mud wallows will expand out and there'll be great habitat for the crakes, for painted snipes. That's another nice one that we get sometimes when it rains. So yes, we should see some interesting birds hopefully over the next few days. It's always good when you get lots of rain like this because the water birds do come in. I've seen in this area we've had lesser gallinules before, lesser moorhens. Now, sorry, I'm getting a bit distracted. Coming to my favorite pan for frogs, and I can already hear some banded rubbers calling. Let's have a look if we can find any frogs frolicking about in the. Now, they probably be on the other side where there's a little bit of grass. So let's just turn off and listen. It sounds all quiet at this one. So this particular pan, all is quiet. I can hear some banded rubber frogs behind me. It's another mud wallow that we've got, but this one, all is quiet, not too much activity. Now this was an area where we had bullfrogs fighting in the last few weeks. We had banded rubber frogs mating. There was calls for golden leaf folding frog here as well. So it was worth coming to check if there was any sign of anything happening. But alas, all is quiet. Oh, there we go. There's a little banded rubber that started calling. So that is a banded rubber frog. And so they are very, very, very pretty. Now, if you've never seen one, it's a black frog with very red markings, which I will show you quickly. Just give me 2 seconds. There we go. So there is our banded rubber frog. You can see it is a very, very, very pretty frog indeed. So it's got those bright red and black markings, and that is to show everybody that it is toxic. It exudes a latex from the skin, which is toxic to animals that try to eat it. So that is why it is so brightly colored. It's trying to tell predators, don't go after me, because if you do, you're going to have a foul taste in your mouth or could be possibly harmed from it. And that means that it avoids being hurt in any way before it actually gets eaten. So clever coloration that it has. But you can see it's got varying forms of bands, but always the 2 bands going over the back, and then that very blunted face that we see there. So I'm going to try see if I can find it. It's calling from these grassy areas, so I'm going to just go a little bit further forward and just see if maybe we can see it. Now these are Brent's fake frogs, and I know Tayla is dying to see them. The other day when I had to come look here, and she did come, but unfortunately she couldn't find them. Now that one that is calling from this little grassy area here. So I'm just trying to see if I can see it anywhere in here. What they normally do is all you see is their little snout sticking out of the water, and then they start calling. But alas, I see nothing. Lebek, you see anything? No. Okay, I think we might have to carry on with this. Sometimes what happens is you get into these situations where unfortunately you can hear them but you can't see them. Maybe in that little thicket where there's lots of vegetation. And I'm quite surprised that there aren't bullfrogs around. Maybe because of the explosions of them. So we had rain and Tayla had lots of them all over the place. And then Jamie had that epic fight between a few weeks ago. So maybe we've had a little.
Hello again, everybody. Now we've been having a quick look on the interweb, I was reading some of your wonderful comments, but there's something that I do want to show you. But you have to come outside. We have been sitting, we've got a duck because Craig is so tall. We have been sitting trying to keep out of this miserable rain. Well, and the reason for that is because look who has set up shop here at the tent. It is the spider. Where is the spider? Let me go the other side. Our friend was here just a moment ago. I'm going to sneak in between these guy ropes. Our spider is now hiding from the rain as well. But this is made from a bark spider. So typically during the day, they actually eat their webs up. They take them back up. But not this guy. Let me see if I can entice him. Come on. There he is. Look, look, look. There's our friend. Came down to the middle. Thank you, spider. We just want to have a quick look and then you can go back to your shelter again. And that's typically what the bark spiders do, so that they don't always sit in the middle of the web, so it is quite common. But on a day like today when there is a bit of rain about, they don't like it either. So it is taken shelter in the canvas, which is lovely and waterproof, so it's actually got an incredible home. But as you know, silk from a spider is unbelievable and it is exceptionally strong material. And the cousin of the bark spider that we get here in South Africa, the Darwin's bark spider, has got the strongest silk in the world. So typically the middle part is very, very sticky. And then as you head towards the outside, these sort of, I suppose you could call them, they're almost like guy ropes that hold the web together. They're not quite as sticky as you move around the outside. So the concentration of the prey is hopefully to be caught in and around here. Then they get stuck and they move the web around, and that on a rainy day will entice the spider. If it's not sitting in the middle like this, which is a position that they normally assume, will come running out of its little canvas hideaway and will inject venom into its prey and then eventually wrap it up in a tasty treat. Now, I think it's really amazing that something like this that we're just looking at is some of the strongest materials in the world. And they reckon that spider's web is 6 times the strength of the strongest steel, obviously within relation to its weight. I mean, that's pretty unbelievable that something that small can make something like this. Hey? But the bark spiders are pretty lucky, you know, if they're feeling a little bit tired, a little bit fatigued, and they haven't caught anything in a few days, they can actually just catch their, oh, Craig, you got a waterfall feature there. There's a lot of water that's caught in all of this tent, and it was now just leaking down onto the chair. But it's pretty just amazing how they'll feast on all of the protein, and that's what the silk is made out of, and then they have, it's like eating an energy bar, I suppose. But thank you, little spider. That is very, very lovely of you at the moment. Now I keep having, I've lost comms again. I'm going to try and get it to work. There we go. Keep bumping my connection and I keep losing it. Now apparently, oh, well spotted, whoever the zoomie is today, you're great. Let's take a very quick look at the dam cam. Is we have a woodland kingfisher sitting on a tree, hiding away from the rain. Though I can't imagine a kingfisher would be too bothered by the rain, seeing as though they plunge straight into water on a hot day, on a cold day, looking for things to eat. And I'm sure that there is an abundance at the moment for the birds who are brave enough to come out after the rain. There will be lots of insects on the surface, on the ground, moving around. There will definitely be quite a few frogs. And actually just watching the dam wall, you can actually see a couple of insects moving around, probably ants or termites coming out. But there goes the kingfisher, off it goes about its day again. But it is really lovely, isn't it, that we're having so much rain. Dominique, you're wondering if termites' mounds flood after a rainstorm. You know what they do, Dominique, and I've seen it quite often, and I should have told you yesterday, is often before a storm, you'll see those termites working really, really hard and closing their chimneys. It's like they know. Because, yes, if they do get an excessive amount of rain, imagine 50 mils of rain, just shy of 2 inches of rain, that could indeed flood out their mound, and that wouldn't be too great. So you'll often see them going to those big chimneys, working very, very hard and as quick as they can to close it. Because remember, they wanted to bake in the sun for a couple of days too. Otherwise, if they just started working on it and completed it last night, closing up their mounds, that soil will be so soft, and you've seen how easy it is as when you just touch it, it crumbles in your fingers. So you can imagine the rain that we had last night is the hardest rain I've experienced since I've been here at Djuma. I've seen it before down in the south where it for an hour and a half it bucketed down, and that would definitely fill up a termite mound and break through some soft soil. That might be something interesting to see if we can find a termite mound around here. Perhaps go and fetch a termite. It would be nice to see what they're getting up to today. And I'm just looking for our friend, the Natal spur fowl. It was very chatty earlier, but I think that it has now decided that it's gone. Oh, that's very sad. I thought we were going to have it for the whole morning. It was just living near the easel, but not anymore. It seems to have disappeared and, well, gone on an adventure somewhere else. Oh, should we have a look at poor... Is it... Who is the... I've forgotten who our scarecrow is. What is our scarecrow's name? Tom Brady. It is Tom Brady. Ah, yes. Look how miserable Tom Brady looks. Look at it, dripping with all the water and his poor little glove arms. No, this is very sad. We have to squeeze out his fingers because he's full of water. Oh, that's terrible. That's not wonderful at all. I'm so sorry that you got left out in the storm and no one took care of you. But you seem to be well weathered, which is actually very nice. I didn't think that this was going to last out here, but James did a fantastic job. Right, well, from the two of us, I'm going to see if I can dry old Tom off. Let's go across now to Jamie. And, well, I'm sure she's still on her water patrol.
I am on my water patrol. My favorite moment of this morning has been driving through the Mulwati to get from one side to the other. That was fun, wasn't it, Brian? I wanted to go really, really fast, which is always fun to do, but then I realized with all of the equipment in the back, I don't think it would be very much appreciated. So I had to resist the temptation, and we drove slowly through the Mulwati, and I sat for a little bit in the middle until I started to feel the car actually start to move. And that's how powerful the current is. Look, it's a light car. It's not a sort of 3-row seater Land Cruiser or something like that. It is a light car. But still, I could feel the wheels shifting ever so slightly. So that flow is powerful. And my apologies. Obviously, Tristan clarified the Mulwati empties into the sand rivers. Brian, did you get that name? Bob Bob?
Yeah.
Bobber. Okay, we'll go with that. Bobber, sorry. Sometimes the radio distorts Kirsty's voice and all we hear is Bobber, you want to know if it's easier to spot tracks when it's wet like this? Exact opposite. Unless you've got real mud, and I have to tell you that much like human beings, the animals don't really like to walk through thick mud either, so they usually avoid those really muddy patches. And unless you've got thick mud, or an entire pride of lions stomping heavily across the road, generally it is more difficult. Look, if you see tracks, if I were to see a nice crystal clear track in this mud puddle now, then I would know immediately, hey, that track is very fresh because it hasn't been washed away by the heavy rain. But it really is... I'll show you. Okay, well, I don't have paws and I don't have hooves. And I do have a lot of mud crusted on my feet. But look here. I am untrackable, essentially. Sometimes when a car is driven over, you can sort of see the tracks if an animal were to step where the car's loosened up the sand a little bit. And that sometimes makes life easier. But of course we have to drive like that. So if I am, okay, let me make it more accurate, because let's pretend I'm a leopard, and I'm just a little bit heavier than Karula, so I walk on my tiptoes, because her paws, obviously she is digitigrade, not plantigrade like me, and you'll still see nothing. So there you go. In answer to your question, it is much more difficult to track in this weather. If you're on foot, you've got a slightly better chance, but not really even then, especially because it stayed cloudy. The sun's coming out, but for now it's still cloudy, which also means you don't have the advantage of the rays of the sun hitting the tracks at the right angle. Apparently Karula's tracks were seen around here. That's why I'm here. Well, one of the reasons I'm here. Also, of course, to get to Buffelshoek Dam. I've just had a discussion with Tristan about what routes we're going to take, on the basis that there are actually very few roads we can drive now. Central's off the table, Mvubu Road, I'd even say Nyala Road, Vulture's Nest. A lot of our roads are not drivable right now. In fact, once I was on Twin Dams, I realized I probably shouldn't even be on Twin Dams, but it got us a view of the Mawati. So we're a little bit limited as to where we can go. We can't really off-road. But we can search for termites and tortoises and all sorts of other things. It's still pouring over the Drakensberg and Bushbuck Ridge to the west of us. There's this thick bank of clouds, and in fact it's suddenly gone dark again, Brian. And it is still drizzling on us. Not raining, drizzling a little bit. We just have to bump something. We just have to get lucky and bump something. Even Cheetah Plains, I spoke to Andrew, he said not many of the roads will be drivable. They had even more rain than we did. Did Tayla ever read Tristan's rain gauge? Did I miss that update? Or did something happen to Tristan's rain gauge? Oh, that's devastating. So Tristan's rain gauge was knocked flying. The weather station has stopped working a while ago. I don't think it's been fixed yet. So we won't know exactly how much rain we had. We just have to guess. What do you say, Brian? I say 50.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe even more.
Yeah.
I mean, that Mawati, look, the ground was waterlogged, but the Mawati was flowing properly. And Greg says, of course, the crazy part was that most of that rain fell in an hour. And that's, I mean, I remember waking up when I first started to hear the storm hit, and it wasn't even like a pitter-patter, it was whooshing. I think that's the only good way to describe it. Do you know what I mean when I say that, Brian?
Yeah.
Just kind of whooshing through in waves. And it was actually quite intense. I don't know where I am. I have absolutely no idea which junction I'm at. I have a feeling I meant to turn there. I've not been paying attention to where I am. I know where I am, just not quite sure how far up I am. Oh well, we've actually probably got to go round anyway. We probably can't drive Gwaripan Road. You're going to be doing circles this morning. Come on, Nkumas. Pop out. Brian, can you imagine if that had happened during one of our TV shows? Yo. That would have been flat panic. It would have been panic stations all around. Because of course then we have no animals as well. Right, I think it's time to hear what Tristan's plans are, since we've been trying to coordinate not driving along the same roads. Let's go and see where he is all the way to the west.
So we're in the west, and I am going to try and find the Nkuhuma Pride. Now, I got an update that they were on Arathusa yesterday afternoon, in a very difficult place to get to, but what I'm hoping is that they may have come out a little bit. I don't think anybody's actually spent any time checking that area, so I'm going to go and have a look and see if we can find any signs of them. The problem is that after this rain, lots of roads are closed, and so we're going to have to be a little bit careful about where we go. Now, I've checked along the boundary, nothing seems to have come out of Arathusa, so I'm hoping that they're still somewhere inside here. The other bit of news that I have is that Mvula was seen this morning. He is currently on Simambili at the moment, so he is walking around. He's apparently not got a direction. He's going up and down on the fire break, so he's actually not too far from One-Eyed Pan area, which is where we said he went last night. So that's good that he's around. I don't think he got a meal last night though, which is not ideal for him. I was hoping that he would have got something, but it does happen that way. With the conditions the way they were, I would have thought that he would have been probably spending most of the evening hunting, but you never know. Maybe he tried, and unfortunately because he's a little bit older, he's a little bit slower, and that's why he hasn't caught anything. But good to hear that he's still around and that he's still in the area, so it means that I'm sure in the next few days we will see him again coming back to our side. That would be nice. Robin, so this is an interesting one. You want to know about Shadow and the cubs, and with all these rivers flowing, whether or not they're going to be okay. Well, the problem is that Shadow often chooses very bad den sites. So she chooses these culverts under the road or these drainage pipes which flood, but ideally she would move to a more suitable area. So she would take those cubs and go to a termite mound that is on higher ground and utilize the holes in a termite mound, or she would take them to a rocky section. Here on Arathusa there is a particular section actually close to where we're going to be heading that's got quite a nice rocky outcrop on it, and that would be a good place, and she has utilized that area before, so she'll just try to find higher ground. These animals are very sensitive to changes in pressure and changes in the amount of water that's falling, and so she will know that she needs to move them. Now, I haven't heard anything about Shadow's cubs. We had that very brief sighting of Shadow last week Monday, or this week should I say, on Monday, and she was moving around and she still had milk in her glands and suckle marks, so the cubs were still alive at that stage, but I actually haven't heard of anybody even seeing them. So who knows where the den is these days, or if she's moved the den and has been clever enough to know that she needs to move them. But I'm hoping that she has. So I'm hoping that she has actually moved it and has looked after those cubs. She's had such bad luck over the years, and it would be nice to actually see her raise these two to adulthood and see them prosper, and for her to actually leave some sort of legacy behind or some sort of bloodline behind. Now, we're just going to wipe the lens quickly, so I do apologize for any little bit of hand movement from Lamech as we wipe along, and I'm going to say hello to Ryan as well. Hello De Beer, hello Ryan. Hello, how are you guys? Good. Is there any sign of these Nkumas? No.
But that's not valid.
And lots of rain.
Okay. Well, we've only had 30 miles.
30.
How much did you guys have in Djuma?
Over 50. And Coral had plenty.
Yeah, well, Cheetah Plains are saying over 100.
Yeah.
So it's a bit silly at the moment.
Cool.
Our standard road closures are coming into play though. I wouldn't suggest trying to cross down there.
No, I'm going to go around to Nopton Pan and then...
Yeah, that's what I mean. I wouldn't suggest trying to cross there.
Oh, is it?
Soft.
Okay, cool. I'll turn around then.
Yeah, that's why I turned around.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I'll let you know.
Can I go around Nopton Pan side and then down Pan to Pan and that way?
Yeah, that's
okay, cool.
fine. You can check it out.
Cool.
Remember Eli Alley, that
Yeah.
section there by Zebra Drive is going to be closed. That's circular parallel.
Yeah. I know, I'll go down and I'm going to try hit airstrip side and then...
Yeah, well, I'm looping around that bushbar spot myself.
Cool.
So I'm going to try and go Matunda loop because Mbula is chilling in your...
Yeah, I had him yesterday.
So, yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan. Cheers, guys. Enjoy. So, we're just catching up with Ryan and seeing whereabouts he's going to be checking. Now, he's just told me that we're going to have to turn around because the crossing that we're coming towards is very soft and very slippery. So, we're not going to ruin his lovely roads and make a mess. So we're going to try and see if we can find an alternative route to the area that we want to go and check. So while we do that, let's go back to Tayla and see what she's up to in her evil laboratory, the tent.
My evil laboratory, I don't think that's a word, I made that up. Yes, it's a bit quiet in here at the moment. I went out to go and have a look for more things, but it seems as though there is not much out at the moment. So I was actually just having a look at, firstly, a map to see if there's anything going on with the weather. So you can see, I I thought that we were going to get a storm coming in, but it doesn't look like we've got anything coming in at the moment, you can see. But there is something forming just up here, if you follow my little mouse. To the right. Look at that, coming in towards Madagascar. That is probably going to be causing a bit of a swell. So I'm sure as that, whatever storm that is, whether it's another tropical cyclone, I'm not certain, but it's definitely the wind is picking up. At the moment, I was seeing just on the outskirts of whatever that storm is, it's already raging at about 70 kilometers, and I think it's going to, well, 70 kilometers an hour. I think it's going to get better and better and better and more exciting. So maybe we get something else again, but I don't know. I think we were lucky with tropical cyclone Nat.Geo, getting the weather that we did. I don't know if we'll have something like that again soon. Now, Lauren, you're wondering if we get tornadoes. I haven't ever experienced a tornado, but not so long ago, I think it was about maybe almost a year ago now, maybe slightly less than that, there was some form of a tornado that went over Johannesburg in the Benoni area and actually wiped out a shopping center. Can you believe that? They are not common out here. Every now and then you'll hear about them, small ones, but sort of none that are big enough to completely wipe out an entire city, thank goodness. And I really do feel sorry for everybody that does have to experience something like a tornado. That cannot be pleasant at all. That must be a terrifying experience. I had a terrifying experience myself, not something quite as dramatic as that, but I was bitten by a sack spider, and I think it's payback, because remember I've told you all these stories of how my brother always seems to get bitten by sack spiders. Well, I sent him a picture and he had a good laugh at me, because he says, yeah, the tables have turned, and it has. And sadly, I won't be able to show you. It's a bit too high up on my leg. But anyway, so I was bitten by this sack spider, and I think I may have found the culprit on my watering can yesterday. It was a big female. I just wanted to check if my comms are working again. Yes, just always double checking. Yeah, so I found it was a massive female, and I have little plants that I'm growing, and she was just sitting on there. Whether it was her or another one had perhaps got into my bed, I'm not certain when it bit me, because typically when you get bitten by a sack spider, it's often at night. Normally the bites occur at night, but if you disturb a spider, no matter what time of the day, and it feels as though there's a little fly, it feels as though it needs to defend itself, it will. Now, Trevor, you're wondering what is the most venomous spider here in South Africa? There are actually a couple that we need to be concerned of. I would say I've never seen a six-eyed crab spider, but I've heard they've got quite a potent venom. Then the violin spider, which there are a few lurking around here, and maybe we've got one in the tent, which we'll try and find. Button spiders, or the recluse spider, we see a lot of them. They're ones that you've got to be careful of. And then, of course, the sack spider, like I was bitten by, but I'm not going to die, so don't worry. Well, maybe some of you were happy, I don't know, but no, I'm not going to die. All that's going to happen is I need to keep this wound nice and clean now, because essentially what it does is it forms a little head, and at that little head on your leg, that is where all the cytotoxin is concentrated, so it starts rotting the flesh inside. But because it's a spider and it's a relatively small spider, it's normally just a tiny little section. You'll probably find, and I've noticed now, there's a ring of redness about that wide around my leg, but the part that's sort of, well, being attacked, the part of my skin that's being attacked, it's probably only about that much, and I won't lose my leg. I might have a little bit of a gap in it, but as long as I keep it clean, I will be fine. Look at our friends who have joined us. I don't want to move too much. Look under the easel. We've gone from having one Natal spurfowl to two Natal spurfowls who are miserable, and I think they came to sit underneath our easel to try and get out of the rain. But sadly, that's not going to help them too much, because that doesn't have a cover. Natal spurfowls, come and join us. There's plenty of room here in the tent. You can perch up on the shelf if you like. You can join the show. That's the only thing, though, is that if you want to come inside the tent, you have got to be a part of this morning's sunrise safari. Do you agree with that? I think that they're thinking about it. Well, I might have to go over there and have a good chat with them and coax them over a bit, practice my salesmanship. Let's go across to Tristan, who hasn't got a spider, but he's got a web.
Indeed we do, and it's very pretty. Now, it's got all the little rain droplets that are falling, are being caught on the web, and the only thing that would make this better is if we had a break in the clouds and the sun came out, because this would look absolutely spectacular. We would get beautiful golden droplets on this web, So unfortunately there's no sun, but it's still very pretty just to watch the little droplets forming on the web as it goes. Now, this particular web would have been from what Tayla had earlier, a bark spider. So it would have been built probably last night. And what you'll find with bark spiders is that they often consume their own web. So in the mornings it'll eat all of this web structure, and that's because the web is full of proteins, and so they've utilized proteins in their body to build it, and now they just reconsume it to keep up their strength and be able to then build it again this evening. But I don't see the bark spider. I've looked for it everywhere. I think it's taking shelter with this rain. There'll be too much going on, so it's going to find a leaf somewhere and just get underneath that and stay out of the rain, much like Tayla in her tent. And I'm sure if she just sells it right to those spurfowl, they will definitely be able to join her, and I'm sure they would love a nice dry warm tent rather than this wet weather that we're having. And it seems like the rain is starting to come back. It's starting to get heavier again, which is not ideal. I was hoping that we were going to have we would get a little bit of sunshine coming out. But we are going to carry on the search for these nkuhumas. I'm hoping that they're going to be lying somewhere where we'll be able to see them. And while we do that, I think let's go to Jamie, who is continuing her dam search and sounds like she's up at the biggest dam of them all.
How impressive is this? I actually should have told you. Look at this rain still pouring. The sky is beautiful. I actually shouldn't have told you where I was going and made you guess which waterhole we've come to, just because the change is so drastic. It's astounding. It really is. I don't know how much. I think we must have had 100 mils as well, because the Buffelshoek Dam has gone from essentially not even really a dam, it was kind of a muddy puddle, you could see the mud and the grass sticking out of the bottom, to a proper full water hole. And fair play to Yuri for all of his preparations in making these dams bigger and improving them, because I think if he hadn't, this dam wall would probably be gone with the amount of rain that we've had overnight. The terrapins must be so happy. Their playground just extended 10 times the size it was before. This cloud is currently sitting over us, dumping its remaining contents above our heads, but we won't complain, because then we get to enjoy scenes like this. I can't wait for our first elephant shot swimming in this dam, because that's one of the best things about full water holes, is watching elephants swim in them. I'm going to go around and look at it from another perspective to give you an idea of how far it extends. Every single drainage line that I've driven past is flowing, and you can actually see where the grass has been flattened completely. So it was before, must have really come down hard. I imagine Hoedspruit is going to be underwater. I imagine the Sunspruit will have burst its banks and will have flooded the main road. Look at this little three-banded, oh, never mind. Flew away. Can I just do something quickly? I'm just going to tilt us back again. Utilize the hill to drain the roof. And just utilize gravity.